You might be wondering why you or someone you know seems to repeatedly seek out things that hurt them. Why do we willingly put ourselves through pain and heartache? There's no simple answer, but research has shown that a certain amount of pain and sadness is actually necessary for our psychological well-being. In this video, we'll explore the reasons behind this desire for sadness and offer some tips for managing it. It's strange, but we often seem to desire sadness. We watch sad movies, listen to sad songs, and read sad books. Why is that? You might say that we do it because it makes us feel better. And that's partly true. Sadness can help us release our feelings and allows us to experience catharsis. But it's not just about feeling better. We also enjoy the taste of sadness because it's a powerful emotion. It can make us feel vulnerable, but it can also make us feel alive. Sadness is intense and visceral, and it's something that we can't control. We're drawn to it because it feels different from anything else we experience in life. You've probably heard the saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." Well, that's especially true when it comes to sadness. Think about it. When something really bad happens, we can either choose to let it break us down or let it make us stronger. And for a lot of people, sadness is that turning point. It's the catalyst for growth. Sadness can make us more compassionate and understanding people. It teaches us about our own vulnerabilities and helps us develop a thicker skin. It allows us to connect with other people in a deeper way, and forge relationships that are built on trust and understanding. So why do we seek out sadness? Because it has the power to change us for the better. You might be wondering why people would want to feel sadness. It doesn't make sense, does it? We're happy when we're content, but we seek out sadness when it feels like nothing is going right. It's because sadness makes us feel human. It's a natural emotion that we all experience at some point in our lives. And when we're feeling sad, we feel connected to others who are going through the same thing. We feel understood. But there's a danger in seeking out sadness. It can be addictive, and before you know it, you're stuck in a downward spiral that's hard to break free from. You lose sight of the things that once made you happy, and you forget how to enjoy life. So be careful with sadness. It can be tempting, but it's not always good for you. It's normal to feel sad sometimes. There's no shame in it. But what do you do when sadness becomes a habit, something you turn to over and over again? That's when it's time to get help. Because sadness is like a disease, it can take over your life and make you feel like you're powerless. It becomes an addiction, and before you know it, you're doing anything and everything to make yourself feel bad. But there is hope. You can get better, but it takes work. You have to be willing to face your fears and talk about the things that are bothering you. You need to find a support system, whether that's friends or family or a therapist. And most importantly, you need to be patient with yourself. Healing takes time, but eventually you will find your way back to happiness. When sadness becomes too much for us to handle, it's time to seek professional help. You might be wondering, can't I just snap out of it on my own? And the answer is, unfortunately, sometimes no. There are so many factors that can contribute to our sadness, and sometimes we just need an impartial outsider to help us navigate our way through it. A therapist can provide us with the tools we need to understand our thoughts and emotions, and eventually work through them. If you're feeling overwhelmed by your sadness, or if it's starting to interfere with your day-to-day life, please don't hesitate to reach out for help. You're not alone in this. When we experience sadness, it feels like something is wrong. But the truth is, sadness is a natural and necessary part of life. It can actually be quite healthy for us to feel sadness at times, because it allows us to process our emotions and reflect on our lives. We might try to avoid sadness at all costs, but that's not really possible. The more we try to push it away, the more it will persist. The key is to not fight it, but to accept it and let it run its course. There's no right or wrong way to deal with sadness, but there are some things that might help. Distracting yourself with activities or distractions can be a good way to temporarily cope. Or you might want to talk to someone about what you're feeling, which can be really cathartic. Sadness is an emotion that we all experience at some point in our lives. It's nothing to be ashamed of, and it doesn't mean that we're weak or flawed. It's just a part of being human. You might be wondering why somebody would want to feel sadness. After all, it's an emotion that we usually try to avoid. But the truth is, for some people, sadness is a very powerful force. It's not always easy to understand why we're drawn to things that make us feel bad, but in some cases, it might be because we see sadness as a way to connect with our emotions. We might think that if we can feel sad, then we're really feeling something. Whatever the reason, there's no doubt that the desire for sadness can be a very powerful force. But it's important to remember that there are other ways to connect with our emotions, and that there's no need to hurt ourselves in order to feel something.